Week 5 is almost in the books, and that means it's time to take a look back at the week that was. And all I know is that Chris Meaney and I are real good at calling touchdowns. Here we go. It's pre-snap time, and it starts right now.
585, ready.
You're listening to the PreSnap podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy football experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to the pre-snap right here on the LineStar app. It's me, and it's my BFF, Chris Meaney, and we're here breaking down the week that was in wagering and in DFS right here on LineStar, which, by the way, you should be going over following the LineStar app. Make sure you are downloading that and upgrading to that premium package so you can be along with us for the ride. Chris Meaney, it was a wild day, a huge weekend in scoring, some incredible singular performances, some incredible team performances, and the best team performance was you and I. Let's be honest, because we won swag for two people yet again. We tied 2 touchdowns for Thielen. You had a touchdown on Ezekiel Elliott. I had 2 touchdowns for Chris Godwin and a touchdown for Mark Ingram. So count it up, 4 players, 6 touchdowns. That's a lot of hats, Chris Meaney.
It's a lot of hats. It's deja vu from week 1. I mean, I think we're
back in business. I told you we were going to bounce back, and we did.
And I think we flipped. Like, I think week 1, I may have gone Godwin and you went Thielen, and we were both in on them again last week. So yeah, it was a good week in terms of calling touchdowns. It's just a wild fantasy week in general. I mean, everything, right? I mean, you wake up today, we got a coach fired. I mean, last night over 100 people were knocked out of my Survivor with, picking the KC and the Bears.
Yeah, I avoided that one. I had
the
Pats, so I was lucky. I had a whole bunch of people knocked out. I'm only like 5 people left in mine. I'm excited.
Yeah, this one, there's still quite a few people that are over 500 in this entry. I was on the Eagles yesterday, so I'm moving on as well. But yeah, I mean, just scoring performances, like it's unreal. I mean, Will Fuller, like a top 10 performance of all time, and we said on this show, it's coming, guys, and everybody was on it. His ownership in a lot of my tournaments was well over 30%, and we said it is coming. Now is the time to be on it. Not this week coming. The time was last week because you knew it was eventually going to come, but now it's like,
and Kenny
what can I
Stills
get
was
for this
inactive.
guy in season long?
So you're right. Yeah, Kenny Stills was inactive, so you knew that. Like you just line it up. Here we go.
In the Falcons, it all worked out.
By the way, our boy Dan O'Grady over at LineStar app just sent me a fun email. I don't know if you saw it yet. It said, "Here's the current touchdown tally so far after 5 weeks." Chris on the board with 8 touchdown calls. Not bad at all. I am up to 11 now on the touchdown calls. So that's 17. I'm sorry, that's 19. I can't even add. I'm an idiot. That's 19 touchdowns
for 5 weeks.
Over 5 weeks. So that's pretty good, I would say. I'd say that's a good start to the season, but that's not enough because we're greedy here. And
we want to do this every week. Yeah, we want to be calling touchdowns every week.
Yeah. We want 7 touchdowns every week. And I love when both people win because they always ask the same question in the contest, which is what happens when there's a tie. Because I think this is like the second or third one at least.
Yeah.
But again, keep an eye out. And if you're following us on Twitter, we tweet out that segment every week. And if you retweet it and like it, you have a chance to win some free stuff. And everybody likes free stuff. And we're winning you money. You're winning free stuff. The world is a beautiful place right now, Chris, right?
Yeah, it really is. And yeah, we had about 30 retweets, 40 likes. So, I mean, get on it. This is your opportunity to get some free merch from LineStar. And the LineStar app, we've said this a couple times, and we really hit it home, I think, last week with the cornerback matchups. We talked about a few guys.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley was a guy we talked about.
Calvin Ridley.
Good ROI on that one.
Yep. And Thielen as well. I know LineStar app had retweeted. They had said, I think it was more so about Thielen, like you and I were talking about Thielen and being a good matchup. And then they had tweeted earlier, they just quote retweeted from earlier in the week, top wide receiver versus cornerback matchups. And Adam Thielen right up at the top. And yeah, he cashed in if you had him.
He did, but it was a tough week for pay lines because when you're breaking the 300, it's 315 and stuff like that at the top. Yeah, it's tough. Perfect. Like you could have combinations, and I know I had combinations in Million Maker of like Michael Thomas and Godwin and things like that. Normally those things go off and you're like, oh, well, I'm good to go, right? Nope, not so much. So much. But it was tough, man, because of the huge that you had to have CMC, Jones, you had to have Eagles defense, you had to have like a lot of things kind of maneuvered properly. But let's get into some of these individual performances, and let's start with the Texans quarterback and start with Watson. 426, 5 touchdowns, but the most important number, 0 sacks. That's the most important number. When this guy's upright and he's got time in the pocket, look at what happens. Look at the beautiful thing. Now look, it's the Falcons, so obviously they suck and they can't tackle anybody, and we're going to keep trolling them the rest of the year, no matter where they are. We're going to go after them. I don't care if it's A.J. Brown. I don't care if it's Fuller and Hopkins, whoever it is, we're going to be all over it all year. But look, man, Watson, this is the key for them. If he can stay without as much contact, he's going to have these kind of games.
Yeah, of course. And that you're right. That was a big takeaway for me too, because I was kind of down on this offense just in general from what I had saw. And it was nothing to do with Watson, or it's nothing to do with Hopkins. It was the offensive line. So the fact that he wasn't sacked and he was able to do what he does, really. I mean, that's the kind of upside that he has, right? He was 28 for 33. Phenomenal stuff. I mean, part of this is on the Falcons. They're just atrocious defensively, but you come out of that game with 5 touchdowns. He's hitting Will Fuller. We said numerous times he just missed Will Fuller a couple times over the past few games, just off the fingertips, overthrown, pressure in the face, having to chuck it up. He had some time. And hey, Will Fuller's day could have been even better. I mean, this guy was dropped at the 1 twice. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy. What?
Can you imagine?
Yeah, unreal. So I think I saw a stat out there was Jerry Rice with the most fantasy points ever in a full point PPR league. I think it was 67, and Fuller is now in the top 10. I think the 7th best performance of all time. But on the other side of that, Matt Ryan kind of fits that bill as well. As much as we were all over the Falcons defensively, this is why. I mean, Matt Ryan is throwing the ball more than anybody in football. He's got 300 yards in every single game, and he was able to come away with another 330 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. The third time he's had 3 passing touchdowns with really nothing from Julio Jones yesterday. So I think this just trend continues. Ryan is just going to continue to chuck it up. He's got dome games on the schedule again. I don't think he plays outside of a dome until
He'll be fine.
Or 14. He'll be fine. Yeah,
he'll be a nice value.
It just game stack those games, Falcons and whoever they play, right? Because you're going to
why not? Yeah. Sign me up, baby. Let's do it. Teddy B was really good too. Talked about him a lot on DFS today on the TV show on Sundays that I'm hosting with Mike Blewett. And, as one of these guys, especially on DK, I thought like he was a great play on DK because he was so cheap. And I thought this was a week where you had to pay up at wide receiver. Like you wanted to be up and spend a fair amount. It's going to be a very air raid kind of week. And it was. And Teddy Bridgewater certainly held up his bargain. 4 touchdowns, 314. 2 of those went to Michael Thomas. But I mean, really, this was a great showing for him, and he needed a good showing as well. And the Bucs defense is not very good. I want Winston to be better in this game, but he was good enough to get at least Chris Godwin 2 touchdowns, so that was good. But Teddy B helping his free agent stock a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. And he'll get a real test over these next couple of weeks in Jacksonville and in Chicago, especially in Chicago, with Drew Brees tweeting, I think yesterday or the day before, just of himself. I think it was actually on Instagram of, he's throwing football. So he's getting a little bit closer, but Teddy Bridgewater looked really good. And here we are after 5 weeks. I know he's only played a handful of games here, 3 starts in a row, 3 starts in a row. And his completion percentage, right up in the top near the NFL, 70%. I mean, Derek Carr at 73, Russell Wilson 73, Ryan 70, Teddy Bridgewater 70. So he's been very impressive. He really has. He's leaned on Michael Thomas. Thomas hasn't missed a beat at all. Everyone was a little sour on Michael Thomas with Teddy Bridgewater, but he's just been unbelievable. That game yesterday was lights out for him. And then Tampa, Mike Evans with a big 0. O.J. Howard, where is he? This is Chris Godwin's team. He's going to finish with more catches and more fantasy points than Mike Evans. Evans has one good game this year.
Yeah, but you know what? In fairness to Evans, Marshawn Lattimore was amazing in that game. Like, he just shut him down. I watched the breakdown on NFL Network on the highlight show of Lattimore and Evans, and Lattimore was just incredible. And he's very familiar with Evans because he plays him every year and multiple times. And you could just tell, like, he was anticipating correctly, everything. There was no room. There was no open Michael Evans all day. So shake that off. It'll be fine. Remember, Mike Evans still has 2 games against the Falcons, Chris. There's going to be lots of Mike Evans to come. So just stay tuned.
Too bad one of those games comes week 17. He'll go off that game for you.
I don't care. I want it. I want it. That's what I want. Other quarterbacks to note, Kirk Cousins, 306 for 2 touchdowns.
Yes.
Certainly good for him.
Eagles on the
Tom
schedule
Brady
this week.
Yeah. And Tom Brady, who was one of our favorite cash game quarterbacks, came through, put up a Tom Brady game against the Redskins like we all thought. So good things there. Now let's talk about Christian McCaffrey because it's his world and we're just living in it, Chris.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, 176 on the ground on 19 attempts with 2 touchdowns, then a whole bunch of receiving yards. I mean, holy cow. Like Christian McCaffrey right now is the guy that you almost have to pay for across the board and find like the best McCaffrey lineup every week.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we said on Thursday. We just brought up the thought of fading him, and we're just like, nah, you can't. You just have to
can't
find
do
a
it.
way
He's the offense.
Yeah, you just have to find a way to get him in and just move on that way. I mean, in a half-point setting, 159 points, and the next closest guy is Austin Eckler at 129. Like, he's unreal. The offense completely runs through him. He's playing 100% of the snaps. He's on pace for 2,771 yards from scrimmage, which would just blow Chris Johnson's record of 2,500 yards out of the water. And I just don't see how he's going to slow down. I mean, he's getting a ton of carries. He's getting the catches into the backfield. There's just a ton to like about CMC, and he's going to get to that point where I think it was 2-3 years ago, and I think I was doing a FanDuel show with you, and you and I were talking about David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell. Both of those guys were getting up to the 10K mark on DraftKings and FanDuel, and we were just like, wow, how do you adjust? How do you find a way to get these guys in? And what we came away was you just do. You just find a way to get them in because if you didn't have CMC yesterday, you didn't win.
All right.
You're right. Let's be honest.
And there were ways around it. Like there were ways you got to get clever, and that's why we're around. But you have to get clever, and that's why LineStar App's important with those ROIs. That's why the quarterback matchups are important. That's why looking around there too. I mean, Kyler Murray was decent. I know he was highly owned too, and I had some shares of him, and he was good. Just running the football at least. Like to see him be a little bit more efficient in the passing game. But look, Dalvin Cook, another brilliant game for him. 21 of 30, 132. Marlon Mack, 29 for 133. Josh Jacobs. Talk about like the contrarian play of the day. 26 for 123, 2 touchdowns against the Bears in London. Talk about a team that was just caught in the ultimate of all trap games, and they just laid an egg, and Josh Jacobs was terrific.
Yeah, he was terrific. Touched the ball a ton. Got a goal line touchdown taken away from him. DeAndre Washington stole one at the 3. So he could have had 2 touchdowns in that game. And another big takeaway is just involved in the air. He had 4 targets, 3 catches. So a lot to like about Josh Jacobs' game. And you're right, contrarian, he was $4,500 on DraftKings. And a lot of people just didn't want to go there. But, I mean, the game script did favor him a little bit. But he got a ton of play. Touching the ball 29 times. That's what we want to see from Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, 100% there. Great game from Josh Jacobs. Philip Lindsay had a very, I think in all of this, it kind of gets lost how good of a game Lindsay had in this one. 15 for 114, a touchdown for him. Leonard Fournette, another 100-yard game. And then Aaron Jones with 4 touchdowns, 19 carries, 107. Man, those Cowboys, all of a sudden when they had to play some real competition, they fold up like the tent.
Yo, did they ever? Now you wonder, the Cowboys always kind of get a little bit overrated, certainly in the betting world. A lot like Vegas, just they give them the respect because they know people most times out of not are going to bet on Dallas, whether it's futures, whether you believe that they're Super Bowl contenders or not. They're always priced that way because, again, the public is going to bet them. So they were 3.5-point favorites. The line really didn't budge, and they were not in that game at all against Green Bay. They couldn't get anything done offensively. Dak kind of threw it away. You look at the box score and you see nearly 500 yards from Dak, but a lot of that came in garbage time. They weren't able to have success with Zeke running the football, and Green Bay went in there and had their way. Really, with Aaron Rodgers not doing a whole lot, kind of playing conservative. Like, nobody in that offense besides Aaron Jones did anything. Like, Jimmy Graham, after Aaron Jones, had 3 catches. Jones had the 7 catches, and you wonder, at least I wonder, they were forced to go to Aaron Jones. And I know LaFleur, going back to Tennessee at the start of the season, didn't want to get Jamal Williams off the field, but he had really no choice. Like, Carson came in there, had a few carries, didn't do anything. He had to play Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones deserved to continue to get these touches, but it lucked out, I think, for Green Bay. Now, for me, I just hope that he sees how good Jones is and continues to just give him the rock and take a step back, Jamal Williams, because Aaron Jones now leads the NFL with 8 rushing touchdowns. I know half of them came yesterday, but 2 weeks ago, we were sitting here. Actually, just last week, Joe, you and I were sitting here wondering what the heck they were doing against the Eagles, not running the football inside the red zone, not once in 7 tries to tie that game up or take the lead, and they didn't even bother once.
Madness.
Crazy.
Well, at least they finally figured that part out. Yeah. And I know Jamal Williams is still going to be annoying, but Aaron Jones, look, this is the formula for them winning. Aaron Rodgers making plays, not being leaned on to throw the ball 50 times a game or to throw 300 yards a game. And Aaron Jones running the football and playing defense. That's it. That is the formula for the Packers to get W's. And the only loss that they have this year is what? The one time they decided to throw 1,000,000 yards to Devontae Adams and not run the football down by the goal line. Right? That's the one loss they have, boys and girls. That's it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God. It's not that hard.
Oh, run the football. Aaron Jones is nice.
I don't want to sit here like I'm Bill Belichick. I'm not. But damn it,
Right.
I'm better than Adam Gase.
You are. And now that's 2 games where Jones has 13 catches on 15 targets in his last 2 games. So bringing an element that really wasn't there last season. He didn't have too many of these games where he's involved. He had a couple 3-4 catch games, but it was pretty rare to see. And now he's kind of trending as a 3-down back, and that's appealing.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Adam Gase, because Jay Gruden just got fired, so we'll see. And I said it on last week's show too. I talked about like the recap. Remember, I was like, he's gone full Ace Ventura Pet Detective with the 2-2, losing his mind in the mental institution when he pulls Case Keenum from that game. And then, sure enough, he's fired by the end of this week. Like, it was out of control. Adam Gase is next. He spent the entire week with poor Luke Falk, the third-string quarterback, not getting any snaps with the ones. He could have killed him in that game. Okay,
well, he almost got killed. There was 10 sacks.
I know. I was like, he could have ended that kid's career.
Yeah,
just because he was trying so hard to see if he could get Sam Darnold to play. How about a 2-to-1 ratio? How about something for this kid? What a disaster of a head coach he is. And only the Jets would go, you know what? You know what's going to save our organization? Let's go hire the guy that was a complete, utter, miserable failure in our own division. Yeah. And that's the guy who's going to turn our franchise around and make our young quarterback into a god. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy.
Yeah, the Eagles entered. Oh, it's so tough. I mean, they were just pathetic yesterday. And when Sam Darnold comes in, the offense is going to roll a little bit nicer. But, I mean, you just look at all the metrics, yards before contact, bottom of the league, Jets, backs, and Bell. Like, everything runs through Bell, and it's not even that Bell has been bad. It's just every time you give him the ball, he's just hit. I mean, the Eagles came into that game with 3 sacks. 3 sacks in 4 games.
Yeah.
Playing a team in Washington, Atlanta, Detroit, and they didn't get 10 sacks easily all over the quarterback. He had no time, and Gase out in the first half, after the first half, was just saying like, oh, it's just on us, like poor execution. The plays are there. Like, absolutely not. The plays weren't there. There was no time for that kid to throw the football at all, and he set him up. And he just put him in a tough situation.
Failure.
Yeah, he set him up for
miserable. And you were going to fail anyway, chances are. But at least don't get this guy killed. I mean, honestly, football's a rough game. Don't get this guy killed at the end of the day. Don't have this poor kid lose the rest of his career because he gets knocked out or not. Like, come on. Oh, you're a hot mess, Adam Gase. Anyway, the rest of the receivers here, let's get to these guys. A lot to talk about here. Amari Cooper, 11 for 236 and a touchdown. I'm just going to fly through these because they're staggering.
Oh, yeah.
Amari Cooper, 11 for 226 and a touchdown. Will Fuller, 14, 217, 3 touchdowns. Michael Thomas, 11, 182, 2 touchdowns. DJ Shark, how about that boy? Oh my goodness, 8 for 164, 2 touchdowns. He is a thing, if ever there was. Adam Thielen, 2 touchdowns, 7 for 130. Chris Godwin, 7 for 125, 2 touchdowns. Tyler Boyd, 10 for 123 and a touchdown. It's like nobody cares by the time you get down to Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, nobody cares about Cooper Kupp's game with 17 targets, 9 catches, 117. There were tons of guys with 100
Remember
yards.
Thursday when we're like, wow, that's going to be the watermark? Nope. It didn't even crack the top 10.
I know. Unbelievable stuff. Even Michael Gallup returned yesterday and has a solid game.
He was 9. I'm exaggerating. He was 9th.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those weeks. Yeah, it really was. There's a few of my leagues where 200 plus points were easily scored. And yeah, there's just a lot of big time performances. You mentioned Chark, and I don't think people were completely buying in. And even he was flipped around in a couple of my leagues for cheap, and nobody wanted anything to do with him. Yeah, I'll take a shot on him here, take a shot on him there. But he's been very good this season. He's a good wide receiver. I was kind of in on him last year. It's just he never got good quarterback play from Jacksonville. And now, after 5 weeks, he's got nearly 500 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Incredible.
He's the deep threat guy in that offense. Gardner Minshew looks pretty solid. So, and there's some good matchups to come.
He threw for 374 in that one. He had the big turnover, but
he did.
Look,
but in Carolina, it's a tough spot. I mean, now
he went into Denver and Carolina last 2 weeks and he split. That's a pretty good. Yeah, that's about best case scenario. I don't think Nick Foles was doing better than that. Let's be honest. I mean, that's all you could ask for. And I'm mad at myself because I didn't believe in DJ week 1 either. He sat on my waiver wire in a couple of weeks. Nobody did. And I was like, ugh, I'm not going to do it. And meanwhile, I could have had him for $1 And then next week I had to pay like 8 or 12. You know, so it's like, because I was like, all right, well, now I got to do it because it's 2 weeks in a row. And then some weeks I didn't even get them. So very frustrating from that standpoint. Also frustrating because we always take ourselves to task here. It's not all roses and sunshine. This was the first week on the wagering show we did not get an upset special. So bad Joe,
Didn't
bad
have
Mike.
the Colts. Didn't have your Colts. Right?
I know. No, we did not. But Mike took the Giants to cover, which maybe if Wayne Gallman didn't get hurt, that might have been a little different scenario.
It's possible.
But you know what? Doesn't matter. Excuses are for losers. Okay. They're losers. And so we're not going to. And I thought that the Bucks were going to cover. I really did. I thought that was going to be a thing, and it wasn't. So bad job by us. But we'll bounce back because look what happened last week. Last week, Chris and I went over with the touchdowns. Now we came back with 6. It was the 1 over we had. We come back with a vengeance on the pre-snap. That's what
right.
We do.
You're gonna have 2 or 3 upsets next.
That's right. We're gonna go in overtime. But speaking of which, Monday, Thursday slate here. We've got tonight's game with the Cleveland Browns going to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. This is a huge game for the Browns. I know I say that every week now, but that's because they put themselves behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
And Tevin Coleman's going to try to work his way back there. I think the Browns go and win this football game. I know the 49ers have played well defensively, but coming into this week, they were still 3rd in giveaways, and that was with having a bye last week. So keep that in mind. That's how much they've turned the football over, and I don't think you can do that consistently against more talented football teams than they've played and win. So I think that's going to the way it goes this week. But then you've got the Giants going into New England, which is going to be an absolute bloodbath because I don't think Saquon's going to be back in time for this one. Do you?
No, I don't. I mean, he's going to want to play, but you just mentioned Wayne Gallman earlier. Not a good look. Wayne Gallman's got the concussion. It's not often you see somebody suffer a concussion on a Sunday and be able to play and get cleared for a Thursday game. I think it happened with Devontae Adams a couple years ago, but it's not often. And plus, do you even really want to throw Saquon in against New England? You probably don't. So it remains to be
seen. Here's a fun
what's
stat for New England. You ready? You ready for this? There are 20 defenses that have given up 100-plus points through week 5. It'll be 21 if the Browns allow 17 or more to the 49ers tonight. The Dolphins lead the league with 151 points allowed and have played 1 fewer game than everyone on this list. The Patriots have allowed just 22 points all year. And one of them was on a muffed punt. So
unbelievable. Yeah.
And for a second.
That's crazy. And the Bills are kind of, I know overall New England's only allowed 34 points, but the Bills are kind of right there too. Like 14.
Bills are a playoff team. They're 4-1 and their one loss. It was a game they were very competitive against the Patriots. I'm telling you, that Buffalo D's for real. Great job by Josh Allen going in there with the concussion, still getting knocked around already and coming out with a W. Of course, Kyrie Santos helped by not being able to kick a freaking football. 4 missed field goals in that game. 4.
Yeah, wild. There's a few takeaways sitting here after week 5. I mean, Oakland's 3-2. Say what you want, but I mean, this is a team that lost Antonio Brown, didn't play with Tyrell Williams and beat the Bears.
Mm-hmm. Chargers suck.
Thought that was a great win. Chargers are charging it up. Yeah, they're just guys are missing kicks, field goals. They're just I mean, it's typical Charger fashion. You just don't know what you're going to get with these guys. So this is a huge game for Cleveland to try to keep pace because for a wild card spot, I mean they're behind Buffalo by a couple games here. And I'm surprised, like a lot of people, the public are just hammering San Fran. I mean, they were 3.5-point favorites talking to you on Monday afternoon. They're now 5-point favorites. Like, I don't feel like they've played anyone good. They played Tampa Bay, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh.
Don't like
Pittsburgh without Big Ben. And
I don't like it at all.
Jimmy G has 4 picks in 3 games. Like, I know he's playing a little bit better. I said something... I think I said something on Twitter about Jimmy G and how he's improving, but he still needs to take care of the football. And man, did San Francisco fans ever come at me like,
please.
This is a defense that's going to come after them tonight. This is a defense that can dial up some pressure. So
well, look, I think part of that line is the fact that 2 corners are out again. So no Greedy Williams, no Denzel Ward. That's part of that line. But I'm with you, man. I think Cleveland. I think
Cleveland wins this game.
Yeah, and look, if you're playing Monday, Thursday slate, stack the Patriots defense, Tom Brady, and go get me Edelman, and that's the trio you want. And then look, you have a couple ways you can attack the Monday game. You can take some pieces. You can try for maybe in the tournament you go to Landry, and the cash you go to Odell, and you can make all that work. That's not hard. You take some one-offs here and there. Maybe you take another one-off at tight end with I don't know, Ricky Seals Jones or Izzo, maybe Izzo, because he
Yeah.
he's had a couple big catches so far this year. I
Yes,
don't
yeah.
want to say he's becoming a thing, but I think in the Monday Thursday slate, you could do that. You could just throw it and say, hey, whatever, and then just pay up for everything else. Pay
Yeah,
up for the best of the Pats.
yeah, for sure. I think I think Pat's D is a must. They open up as 17-point favorites. That line's going to get closer to 20, especially when you hear that Barkley's not going to play. If the Giants sign some back, like for example, JJ, then you know that Barkley is not going to play on Thursday, and they're worried about
Yeah.
Gallman. So, and that line is going to change. But you're right. I mean, Brady and Edelman. I mean, Edelman and Pat D for sure. I think this could be a Kittle game. And I do like Jarvis Landry. I think most people will just go and look at Odell as the bounce back. Baltimore just took him away last week. He could certainly have a big game, but I like what I've seen from Jarvis Landry over the past couple games without Njoku there. He's gotten a lot of targets.
Yeah,
And
that's been a
so
positive. That
it has been
injury's been a
positive.
positive for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick fly around too for week 6 after this Thursday night game. We get the Panthers at Bucks, so it's going to be another you must have CMC kind of situation against the Buccaneers. So get ready for that one. The loser bowl, because the Dolphins are going to host the Redskins. And if you're the Dolphins, you better lose this football game because you need Tua. They don't. You need the franchise quarterback. And if they get in the spot where they're going to be worse than you, or the Jets are going to be worse than you, and they both have either Haskins or Darnold, they're going to have the ability to trade out of that pick to some other team. Oh my God, the Dolphins, this is, you ever hear of a must-win game? This is a must-lose game for the Dolphins.
Yeah, it is. Washington opened up at 3.5-point favorites. I wonder what they're going to do here. Like all those reports surfaced that Jay Gruden wanted nothing to do with Dwayne Haskins, and I get that. He wants to compete. He wants to win. He doesn't want to bring in a young quarterback and try to groom him, but he's gone now. And they have games in Miami, San Fran before, in Minnesota, and in Buffalo. So I say you turn the page to Haskins now, before you roll him out there. Before you, like, what's the point? Colt McCoy in Miami, Colt McCoy, San Fran, and then if that doesn't work out, you're going to play him in Minnesota or in Buffalo? Don't do that to the kid. Play him this week. Give him some first-team reps. Let him gel with his boy McLaurin, who he played college with, and let him go into Miami and see what he can do against a Dolphins team. Like, turn the page now, and I think that's why they fired Gruden. Like, this,
Yeah.
Because
actually,
I feel like he maybe got a tough tough shake, maybe because there's nobody there, but it's time to turn
injury
the page.
And all these, like all this, so many issues. But at a certain point, it's better for everybody. I forgot the Bucks game with the Panthers is actually in London, so we lucked out there. 9:30
you won't
start.
even have to do the.
Look at that! Oh, now it's a Wild West. All right, let's hot take the rest of these real quick. Let's do like real quick takes on this. Saints at Jaguars. You know what? We just talked so much about DJ Shark. If we'll see. Ramsey's seeing a back specialist. So I mean, sorry, wrong game there. No, yeah, I'm right here.
No, you're on it. Yep.
Marshawn Lattimore, rather, is going to be on Shark. So
yeah,
if that is the case and that is the matchup, we'll double check here as we go through. You'll have to shut that down.
yeah, and it could be a DD week. I mean, he got some play towards the end of the game, some targets. I mean, Jacksonville's opening up as a point favorite here. I mean, if you like the Saints, I'd do it now, because I wouldn't be shocked if we're sitting here on Thursday, Friday show, and it's the other way. Like Saints are maybe 1-point favorites.
All right, if our boy Kyler Murray ran all over the Bengals last week, I can't imagine what Lamar Jackson's going to do them at home next week. So it's going to be a Lamar Jackson week for me. I could already tell you. I could feel this coming. I could feel this one a lot. It's definitely going to be Lamar for me against the Bengals. The Browns are going to host the Seahawks. This will be a fascinating one. You have a hot take on this one?
I mean, my goodness, Russell Wilson's doing it again, isn't he?
Yeah, he really
is.
Talk
about how efficient
shocking.
He was last year, and he couldn't do it, but he's doing it again. He's been unbelievable. 73 completion percentage, leads the NFL. 12 touchdowns, no picks. He's not throwing the ball a ton. They're running with Chris Carson a lot. I think very positive signs. Chris Carson the past two games. He's been. I know Penny hasn't been around. I know Penny played last game, but still didn't get a lot of usage. But Chris Carson is getting a ton of carries, and he's been good since the two fumbles, or since the plenty of fumbles in the first 3 games. But Russell Wilson, man, I'm very impressed. Like
he's been terrific, man. And I thought he was a little overrated coming into this year, but I could not have been more wrong. Eagles Vikings. It'll be fascinating to see if Kirk Cousins can keep that up and build on the confidence that he had coming out of this game against the Giants, because the Eagles are a team you can throw on, and the Eagles just pwned the Jets, so they might be ripe for a picking there. The Chiefs at home against the Texans. Now listen, this is going to be the chalk game of the week. I can tell you right now. It's going to be so many shares. You're going to pick a side of this one. You're going to go both ways. What are you going to do with this one?
The total's at 56. I'm a little worried about the Chiefs, to be honest with you, just slightly. It's nothing to do with Mahomes, and I'm sure Tyreek Hill is going to be back, but this team is not even trying to run the football because they can't. The offensive line is not great. Yesterday, they couldn't run the ball. Shady had 2 touches, had the fumble. Damian Williams was not running between the tackles. He wasn't really involved at all in the ground. You saw Mahomes dealing with the ankle injury. This is probably going to be a shootout. I'll tell you right now, the 6 points, I'll lean with Houston. I'll lean with Houston right now.
Here's the question for you. Should the Chiefs
Keep this
trade for
close.
Kareem Hunt when he's back? I mean, you can't because it's after the trade deadline, but wouldn't that be funny?
They should trade for someone, an offensive line, maybe some help. Maybe they.
I don't know, can you
Trent
trade
Williams?
for a suspended player?
Could you trade for Trent Williams, like Washington?
Can you trade for a
trade
suspended
guys?
player? Can you do that?
I don't know. I don't think we've ever seen
I
that.
don't know. The Cardinals will be at home against the Falcons, so you got that going for you. So as long as DJ's back is okay, that's a positive. And I think Larry Fitzgerald will be a popular choice. I know he's going to be my popular choice, but Falcons are terrible. But you know what? It's like you said, you got to get on the other side of that game with Matt Ryan. You got to get on the other. I think this is the pivot game from that big Chiefs. Texas is going to have all the heat. This is the pivot game because everyone's down on the Falcons, and that's true. But they still put up fantasy points, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly. They still put up fantasy points. Absolutely. Hooper, Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones. I mean, both backs are catching into the backfield. The run game, again, is just not existent. So, I mean, this could be a Dan Quinn fire game. Like if he doesn't,
a loss of the Cards, you got
a loss into Arizona and just struggling again with the run game and the defense. I mean, this could be it for him. I think he's completely on the hot seat. I said that before last week's game. This Falcon team, it needs a shakeup, and it's not on Matt Ryan.
Yeah. All right, let's fly through the rest of these 49ers Rams. Let's see what the 49ers are tonight before we kind of address that one. I'm gonna wait and see on that for Thursday's show. Titans at Broncos. That should be a snooze fest, you would imagine, but a lot of running in that one. It's gonna be
a lot of running,
and somebody's gonna pass out in that game. You got the Cowboys at Jets, so the Cowboys will get right again against the Jets because, well, it's the Jets, and God knows they won't be prepared. I don't care if Darnold's playing or not. Steelers, Chargers on Sunday night. Oh, my goodness. If the Chargers lose this one, the Chargers have no home field advantage, but if they lose to a third-string quarterback from Samford, not Stanford, mind you, Samford. What's his name? Devlin? What's his right?
Yeah.
Right. Come on.
Devlin Hodges.
Yeah. Devlin Hodges. I mean, I don't know who that was. He sounds like the guy, when you do the next season in Madden and there's new guys in the draft and you got to draft guys.
Yeah.
And they're like not real colleges or they're not real guys. That's what it seems like. I feel like that's one of these like computer generated football players.
Yeah. Devlin Hodges taking your job in Madden. No chance. I mean, no. I don't take too much away from him. He was 7 for 9 for 68 yards, but this is bad. This is
Devlin Hodges is holding out for a signing bonus.
This is really like their 4th string quarterback, right? Because they traded their 3rd string after.
That's right. Yeah,
before Big Ben went down. So they're hurt.
My God. Where's Tommy Maddox? Can we get Tommy Maddox back in the fold? What's he doing? I know the XFL is starting up again. I don't know if he's busy or not. And then they got Monday night next week. Lions Packers. Now that's going to be a fun game. Yeah, you know what? I hope the Lions go into Green Bay and they put on a show. I really do. They're coming off a bye. They had time to prepare. The Packers are flying high. I would love to see the Lions really compete in that game because they've been a competitive football team. And I think they smell it. Like they're getting close to being good. Maybe like 9-7 kind of good, but still a tough out nonetheless. So that'll be fun to watch. And remember on Thursday, we're going to break that all down for you with all the prices and all the matchups and all the news as things continue to flow out here. And Friday, Mike Randall and I will be back with the Wagering Picks show. So make sure you're dialed in for that one as well. That'll do it for me and Chris Meaney. You can follow us on the Twitter machine at Chris Meaney, at Joe Pisapia 17, at LineStar NFL, and of course at LineStar App. Make sure you're subscribing to the show and give us a 5-star review because, it's the very least you can do. I mean, come on, get out there and do it. No, we appreciate it. Yeah, that's a good marketing tool. Our marketing approach is come on. 5-star, come on. So as soon as you're done listening, remember I said, come on, and just go click 5 stars. Boom, there you go. And subscribe so you know when the shows drop every week and that you're ready to rock and roll. So that'll do it for us. And it's time for the pre-snap to be over and time to break the huddle. And there's nothing left to do now except sit down, win.
You've been listening to the Pre-Snap Podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy football experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.